Hello everybody and welcome back to another video by Funlearn Tutorials. In today's video, we will be extending the concept of the properties of relation that we have studied in our previous videos, and we'll be extending them to the subject of economics. So essentially, we'll be doing economics and the properties of a relation. Now, how will we be doing that? Essentially, we'll be defining our relation on the commodity space. So we'll be looking at consumer side. So essentially what we'll be doing here is we'll be redefining our X and our R. In this case, we'll be defining R as strictly weakly preferred to relation. That is, we'll be comparing two commodity bundles and we'll be saying which one we prefer over the other. And in our case, capital X will be the commodity space. So let me just write that down. Our capital X will be our commodity space where we define the commodity bundles. So this will be the commodity space where the elements will be commodity bundles. Now, how do I define the weakly preferred to relation? Let me just mention in short how we define the weakly preferred to relation. Suppose we have two commodity bundles X and Y. We say X is weakly preferred to Y if the utility obtained from the commodity bundle X is greater than or equal to the utility derived from the commodity bundle Y. Why am I calling it commodity bundle? Because X may have more than one combination, or rather more than one number of goods in the commodity bundle. So that is what I mean by the weakly preferred to relationship between two commodity bundles. Now let us look at one property at a time and see whether the properties of the relation hold or not. So the first property that we'll be discussing is the property of reflexivity. So let me just write that down, the property of reflexivity. Now, what was the property of reflexivity? The property of reflexivity was that I should have been able to relate X with itself. Now, in our case, R will be replaced with is weakly preferred to. Of course, X is actually indifferent to X itself. That is, they are both the same commodity bundle. So, I'll be indifferent between either of them. So, since weakly preferred to includes this indifference relationship, I can say that X is weakly preferred to the commodity bundle itself. That is, reflexivity holds. Looking at the next property, we have the property of anti-symmetry. So, now we'll be looking at the property of anti-symmetry. Now, what was the property of anti-symmetry? The property of anti-symmetry was that if I can say that X is weakly preferred to Y, and if I can say that Y is weakly preferred to X, then can I conclude that X and Y are identical? Can I conclude that X and Y are identical? Here we need to note that it's identical and we cannot say X is equal to Y because X and Y are not numbers. Instead, X and Y are commodity bundles. So now let us justify whether this is true or not. Suppose X is equal to Y, suppose X is weakly preferred to Y and Y is weakly preferred to X. These two, essentially the first one means that utility of, this is a bit light color, let me just darken it a little bit. So from the first relation we can have utility of X is greater than equal to utility of Y, and from the next, so from this relation, and from this relation we have utility of Y is greater than equal to utility of X. Utility of Y is greater than equal to utility of X. Now what can we say from these two expressions? From these two expressions we can say utility of X is equal to utility of Y, because the two above conditions can only hold when there is actually an equality sign. So this is what I can get. However, this does not imply that X and Y are identical. It may be so that X and Y are essentially on the same commodity same indifference curve. This may be X and this may be Y. So utility derived from Y is the same as utility derived from X, but they are two separate commodity bundles. Just they are on the same indifference curve. That is, they are essentially an individual or a consumer will be indifferent between X and Y. So anti-symmetry property does not hold in the sense that X is weakly preferred to Y and Y is weakly preferred to X does not imply that X is identically equal to Y. So here anti-symmetry property does not hold. The third property that we'll be looking at is the property of symmetry. So let me write that down. The third property we'll be looking at is the property of symmetry. The property of symmetry. Now, what was the property of symmetry? The property of symmetry was that if I can compare in one direction, so if I can compare x is weakly preferred to y, I should be able to say y is weakly preferred to x. Now, is that true? If x is weakly preferred to y, there are two possibilities. One possibility is that x is indifferent to y from the weakly preferred relationship, and the other is x is strictly preferred to y. Now, if x is indifferent to y, of course I can say y is weakly preferred to x. So in that case it would hold. But had it been, sorry, this will be weakly preferred, strictly preferred, but had it been that x is actually strictly preferred to y, I will not be able to say that. So I will not be able to say that y is weakly preferred to x. Hence, this relationship does not hold for all x and y. I can end up choosing some values of x and y such that y cannot be said to be weakly indifferent to x. So the symmetry property does not hold. The fourth property is the property of transitivity. What was the property of transitivity? The transitivity property actually taught us to connect three elements using the common transitivity, using the common element in the two expressions. So essentially we had, if x is weakly preferred to y and if y is weakly preferred to x, and if y is weakly preferred to x, I should be able to say if x is weakly preferred to y and if y is weakly preferred to some other commodity bundle z, then I should be able to say x is weakly preferred to z. Now, is that true? Of course that is true. If x is weakly preferred to y, I can say utility of x is greater than utility of y, and if y is weakly preferred to z, I can say utility derived from the commodity bundle y is greater than the utility derived from the commodity bundle z. Now, if I compare these two relationships and I think of the fact that the utility of y is common in both these expressions, I can use this as a connecting point and I can say that utility derived from the commodity bundle x is greater than equal to the utility derived from the commodity bundle z, which essentially implies that x is weakly preferred to z. Hence, transitivity property actually holds in this case. So, up until now we have reflexivity holds, anti-symmetry does not hold, symmetry does not hold as well, whereas transitivity holds. The fifth and the final property that we will be discussing is the completeness property. So let me finally write that down, the completeness property. Now, what was the completeness property again? The completeness property is that if we choose any two commodity bundles from the commodity space, I should either be able to say x is weakly preferred to y or y is weakly preferred to x, or in the best sense or in the best situations I might be able to say both. That is, in that case it would be x is indifferent to y. Now, is that true? Again, that is true. If I am given two commodity bundles, suppose I am given 5 cups of coffee and 3 cups of tea, and I am given 2 cups of coffee and 8 cups of tea, I should be able to say whether I like 5 cups of coffee, 3 cups of tea, or whether I like 2 cups of coffee and 8 cups of tea, or I might be indifferent. There should not be any situation given a rational consumer that I will not be able to say whether I like this commodity bundle over the other or whether I like this commodity bundle over the other. I should have a clear preference and I should be able to say whether I like one over the other. That is as per the rationality concept or the basic tenet of rationality. So in this case, completeness property holds as well. So essentially, in case of consumer choice and commodity bundles and the relationship of weak preference, I can say that reflexivity holds, anti-symmetry and symmetry does not hold, whereas transitivity and completeness holds. In fact, these three properties, reflexivity, transitivity and completeness, are essentially three important features that determine whether a consumer is rational or not. So in this way, we can extend the concept of the properties of relation to economics.